All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts: the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Derrida dictionary attack. Leftist word games making dissent unthinkable. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now. Links in description. Men are the new proletariat. How feminism, Marxism, and the gynocracy are stealing your life, labor, and legacy. And what you must do before it's too late. I once watched a man sob into his beer at a greasy bar stool because his wife walked out for a personal trainer who dodged taxes and lived in his mother's basement, yet somehow gets her better. The bartender, a weathered ex-Marine, chased a painkiller with stale coffee and muttered, "She didn't leave you for that guy. She left you for the fantasy he sells, that her world revolves around her, and everyone else should bend." That hit like a sledgehammer. I saw it then. We're not just in a culture, we're inside a feminine solipsism experiment, where men are ground into emotional landfill, walking wallets, and support beams for women who've been taught they're owed constant worship. Let me be raw. If you've been labeled selfish for refusing to bleed yourself dry for a woman who'd ignore you if you were bleeding, you've been played not by a single person, but by millennia of biology, wrapped in lace and sharpened by ideology. The truth, a man who invests in himself instead of women isn't selfish. He's clear-eyed. He's the last monk in a nunnery of emotional leeches. And while you were lectured for not springing for dinner, the system quietly drained you. 74% of women expect men to foot the bill on first dates, but only 32% of men believe that's just so who's really out of line. You're not damaged, you're not emotionally behind, you're being exploited. Your work, your affection, your very essence, mined like crude oil by women conditioned to demand endless praise, and by a society that treats male struggle as background noise. Men die by suicide 3.5 times more than women, yet 90% of mental health funds go to women and girls. Let that sit. Your agony is valued less, not because it's quieter, but because it's male. Meanwhile, creativity has been neutered, swapped for urinals labeled My Experience and male leads in moody films who weep more than their partners. Real art like Michelangelo's David requires discipline, bravery, elevation. Feminized art only asks that you pity the creator and don't start on dating apps. Men send 75% of messages, cover 95% of fees, yet women receive 90% of matches. This isn't romance. This is emotional tenant farming. You're tilling the soil, but someone else reaps the crop. The red pill isn't just about love. It's about recognizing the full illusion. Lenin's working class wasn't factory hands. It's you, the guy paying alimony to a woman letting another man raise your children. You're the engine of civilization, taxed past breaking, divorced beyond repair, told to recover when you finally snap. But here's the forbidden reality: you don't need recovery. You need fairness. You need to walk away. You need to stop fueling the system. This book isn't comfort. It's a resistance guide, because the battle isn't outside. It's in your bank account, your bedroom, your mind. And if you're ready to stop being the livestock and start being the one holding the knife, then welcome to the only uprising that counts, the rebirth of the male spirit. The alchemy of self-worth, when a man stops feeding the vampire. Love is blind, they say, but only until the credit card bill arrives. I once had a brother, call him Jason, because that's his real name, who maxed out 3 cards trying to impress women who wouldn't even remember his last name by Tuesday. He was what the manosphere calls a beta orbit, a well-meaning fool who thought that buying champagne at rooftop bars and surprise weekend trips to Cabo were the royal road to female affection. He wasn't courting women. He was auditioning for the role of sugar daddy in a reality show he hadn't even been cast in. Then he read Schopenhauer. Not the fluffy, romanticized version peddled by philosophy Instagram accounts, but the raw, bitter, true Schopenhauer. The one who wrote that the will to life is a blind, grasping force that drags men into marriage with women who, biologically speaking, are only interested in what you can extract from the world on their behalf. Jason stopped. Cold turkey. He implemented the red pill budget. 70% to self, gym skills, real estate, 20% to brothers and family, 10% max to dating, and never more. Within a year, he bought his first home, gained 15 plate of lean muscle, and stopped chasing women. And then the women started chasing him. One told him, "You seem like someone who has his life together." Another said she'd never met a man so secure. The one who married him didn't care about his bank statements. She cared that he didn't need her approval. That's the alchemy. When a man stops feeding the vampire, he doesn't become less desirable, he becomes more. Because the vampire doesn't want a man. It wants a resource cow. Let me tell you about Mark, an engineer pulling $250K a year. Brilliant mind, quiet, decent. He spent $8,000 on his girlfriend's birthday weekend, private jet to Napa, 5-star hotel, designer handbag, the works. He drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic and wore shoes from Goodwill, his logic being that she's worth it. 2 months later, she dumped him. Her reason: "You don't treat me right." When he asked what that meant, she said, "The guy I'm seeing now really spoils me." Translation: he spends more. This is not love. This is resource extraction disguised as romance.
You think I'm exaggerating? Let's consult the 2023 Match.com Singles in America report. 74% of women say they expect men to pay on first dates, while only 32% of men believe that's fair.
That's not a dating norm. That's a predatory imbalance engineered by gynocentric ideology. And the fallout? Male withdrawal? Men aren't giving up on dating. They're fleeing a system where love is a Trojan horse for financial servitude. The ancient Greeks had a word for this, akolasia, excessive indulgence, moral decay. They knew societies that worship pleasure over virtue collapse. And here we are, watching the West burn while TikTok influencers glorify men who shower women with gifts and mock cheapskates who don't. These aren't love stories. They're psyops, psychological operations to enslave men to female hypergamy under the banner of being a gentleman. You want to know the dirty secret no one talks about? Women don't desire men. They desire what men can pull from the world on their behalf. Schopenhauer nailed it. Love is the will, blind, reproductive, indifferent to individual happiness, using romance as a cover story. You're not being chosen for your soul, your humor, or your integrity. You're being evaluated as a resource pipeline. And if you don't signal high status through expenditures on her, you're discarded. It's not personal. It's evolutionary, ancestral female hypergamy, meant selecting for resource acquisition ability, not emotional generosity. Today, that instinct remains hardwired. That's why a man who buys himself a Rolex or a Lamborghini is seen as confident, but a man who buys those things for his girlfriend is seen as devoted. One signals self-mastery, the other signals subjugation. The nice guy fallacy, the belief that spending equals virtue, is the most insidious lie in modern dating. It's inverted ethics. It teaches men that self-destruction is chivalry, that giving up your future for her present is noble. But Aristotle knew better. In the Nicomachean Ethics, he wrote that true virtue lies in proper self-love, not self-abasement. The generous man gives from surplus, not from sacrifice. He doesn't mortgage his future to fund her vacation. He invests in himself first, because only a man with his own foundation can offer anything of real value. I'll give you the litmus test, the splurge test. If a man spends freely on himself, luxury watch, sports car, private gym membership, elite education, but refuses to splurge on women, he is not selfish, he is sane. He understands the transaction. He knows that emotional blackmail disguised as romantic expectation is the engine of female power in a genocentric world. These women aren't seeking love, they're seeking proof of servitude. And the men who comply, they're not heroes, they're victims of a system that rewards self-annihilation. Look at the data. 50% of marriages end in divorce, but 70% of divorces are initiated by women. Family courts routinely strip fathers of custody. Child support payments bankrupt millions, and yet we're told men are the oppressors. The suicide rate for men is 4 times higher than for women, highest among divorced, unemployed, or isolated men. And who benefits? A system that pathologizes masculinity while extracting its labor. The vampire doesn't care if you live or die, only if you bleed. This isn't an accident, it's design. The Derrida dictionary attack isn't just about twisting meanings, it's about replacing them. Words like mastery are quietly erased, replaced with emotional availability. Discipline becomes toxic rigidity. Heroism is reframed as harmful masculinity. Each substitution chips away at the masculine ideal, replacing it with a feminized caricature, soft, weepy, pliable. And make no mistake, this isn't art evolving. It's art in retreat from truth, from form, from greatness. The galleries don't want painters. They want confessionals. They don't want sculptors. They want trauma dumps mounted on pedestals. And once you see the pattern, the slow, methodical demasculinization of culture, you start noticing it everywhere, in film, in music, in the very way men are now expected to speak, move, and feel. The aura of the real, how feminism killed art, and why men must resurrect it. 6 galleries turned me down. The painter told me over whiskey, his hands still stained with umber and lead white. They said my work was technically impressive but emotionally closed off. One curator actually said, "You need to let us see your wounds." I laughed because what kind of world demands men bleed on canvas to be taken seriously? So he did the obvious. He created a fake female identity, Lena, a 28-year-old trauma artist from Portland, and uploaded the same paintings. 3 gallery invitations in under a week. Not one asked about technical mastery. They raved about her raw vulnerability, her authentic feminine voice. The same brushstrokes, the same chiaroscuro, the same David-level precision, suddenly became courageous and revolutionary when they were allegedly painted by a woman. This isn't bias, this is ideology. This is the Derrida dictionary attack in full effect, where words like vulnerability, inclusivity, and emotional truth are weaponized to replace skill, discipline, and heroism with performative victimhood. Let's be brutally honest. Michelangelo didn't carve David because he was working through early trauma. He carved him because he believed that man mirrored the divine, not some trembling figure reliving emotional wounds. David stands poised, composed, alert. He isn't activated. He isn't recovering. He isn't figuring things out. He is a soldier. Now walk into any modern art space and what do you see? A toilet coated in my reality. A heap of discarded hygiene products framed as resistance against systemic control. A looping clip of a man sobbing into bedding, while a monologue drones on about his harmful male traits. This isn't art. This is emotional blackmail. This is the aura decline, the steady, purposeful erosion of wonder from society, swapped out for guilt-driven, self-obsessed introspection that doesn't ask for respect but pity. And who gains? The elite cadre of gender-focused curators, university-based social analysts, and art dealers who know that fury moves units better than skill. They don't desire champions, they want subjects. Look at Hollywood. In 1956, John Wayne strides across Monument Valley in the searches, a man of action, burdened by sin but unbroken by it. He doesn't talk about his feelings, he does. He rescues his niece, kills the enemy, and rides off into the horizon because some things are beyond words. Fast forward to 2017, Casey Affleck sobs uncontrollably in Manchester by the Sea, dumping trauma on every character like a septic tank rupture. He doesn't solve anything. He doesn't grow. He just feels endlessly, pathologically. That film won awards. Why? Because the feminist cultural apparatus rewards men who collapse. They don't want men who act, they want men who confess. They don't want strength. They want submission. And the proof, since 1970, 80% of art school graduates are women. 80%, that's not diversity, that's conquest. And what happens when a field is flooded by one sex? The values shift from mastery to relatability, from endurance to emotional availability, from heroism to victim signaling. It's not coincidence, it's biology. Women, on average, prefer art that makes them feel safe, seen, and validated. Men prefer art that challenges, inspires, and transcends. But in the current regime, male taste is pathologized. Want strong geometry. That's rigid. Want heroic themes. That's problematic. Want mastery. That's elitist. Meanwhile, a woman can smear her menstrual blood on canvas and be called a visionary. A 2022 study in the psychology of aesthetics confirmed what every red-pilled man already knows. Men are drawn to art with clear structure, technical brilliance, and themes of struggle and triumph. Women, on average, favor art with soft edges, emotional intimacy, and personal narrative. Nothing wrong with either, until one dominates and enforces its preferences as universal truth. That's what's happened. The art world isn't inclusive, it's colonized. And the colonizers aren't foreign invaders. They're the same women who, in private, demand men be strong, protective, and silent, while in public they celebrate men who cry, confess, and collapse. The double bind is deliberate. You must be strong enough to provide, but weak enough to apologize for existing. This is the feminist catch-22. Be a man and you're oppressive. Act like a man and you're toxic. Be a man and you're a threat. Stop being a man and you're worthless. Even our music has been castrated. Where are the ballads of Johnny Cash, I Walked the Line, Folsom Prison Blues, songs of duty, restraint, and honor, replaced by Lana Del Rey's legion of sad boys droning about their daddy issues and emotional unavailability? Oliver Tree sings, I'm not okay, and millions of boys nod along like it's wisdom. It's not, it's surrender. It's the oral equivalent of a urinal called My Truth. And why does this spread? Because the feminist machine has redefined courage as confession. Real courage is facing death, not airing your laundry. Real strength is silence under fire, not oversharing on Instagram. But in the New World Order, the crying beta is elevated, because he validates the matriarchal fantasy that men are broken and women are the healers. It's the same lie sold in family courts, where fathers are stripped of their children over minor infractions, while mothers abandon kids and walk free. It's the same lie behind the male suicide rate, 4 times higher than women's, because men are told they have no role, no purpose, no art, unless they become emotional eunuchs. Exodus 20:4 says, Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. But men have always carved gods because we are image bearers, imago Dei. The question is, what kind of God do we make? For millennia, we carved Zeus, Apollo, David, Achilles, beings of power, beauty, and order. Today, we carve the sensitive white boy, pale, tearful, apologizing for his existence, crowned not with laurels, but with trauma badges. This is not progress. This is degeneration. And Walter Benjamin was wrong. The aura of art wasn't lost to mechanical reproduction. It was murdered by genocentrism. The aura, the sacred, the transcendent, the holy is replaced with the therapeutic, the confessional, the safe. Art is no longer meant to elevate. It's meant to comfort the ruling class, women and their ideological enforcers. So what do? We stop begging for inclusion in a system designed to crush us. We become patrons. We commission real sculpture. We fund classical ateliers. We build private galleries in our homes, temples to the masculine spirit. Culture is downstream of aesthetics. And if we want to revive the West, we start with beauty. Not relatable art, not inclusive art, not emotionally resonant art. True art, good art, beautiful art, art that makes the soul kneel, not the ego weep. Men, stop seeking approval from feminist gatekeepers. Create, build, carve your God. And let the urinals rot in the trash where they belong. I once believed empathy was a universal currency, until I watched my brother. a former Marine, sit alone in his truck for hours after his divorce, while his ex-partner posted tearful selfies and got invited to brunches to heal. That's when it hit me. Our culture doesn't lack compassion. It hoards it. It distributes it like loot from a feminist heist, where only one gender gets shares. And the rest of us, men who bleed silently, who vanish into work, drink, or the cold grip of a noose, are left outside the circle. Told we're too hard, too dangerous, too much, until we break. And then we're told we should have been softer. But softness won't bring back dead sons, lost homes, or stolen dignity. What we need isn't more tears on demand, it's truth and brotherhood. And the right to suffer like men, not patience. The laughter of the damned, how society mocks male suffering and celebrates female hysteria. He cried, not because he was weak, but because he had carried the weight of the world for too long, and no one had ever asked how he was holding up. I watched a man collapse on a park bench, once shaking, tears streaming, muttering about losing his kids in family court. A woman walked by, glanced, then turned to her friend and whispered, "Men just need to get over themselves." Meanwhile, that same week, a woman posted on Facebook that she was feeling a bit off and received 247 comments. 15 care packages and a GoFundMe for her emotional wellness retreat. Let's be clear, men's suffering is not invisible. It's deliberately ignored, it's laughed at, it's pathologized. It's monetized into therapy bills and antidepressants, but it is never ever validated. You know why? Because society has outsourced empathy, reserved it exclusively for women, like a VIP lounge guarded by feminist bouncers who check your ovaries at the door. The CDC reports that men die by suicide at 3.5 times the rate of women. 3.5 times, not 1.2, not slightly higher, triple plus. Yet 90% of publicly funded mental health programs are designed for women and girls. Let that reality marinate. Men are dying at epidemic levels, and the system responds by handing women coloring books and mindfulness apps while telling men to man up, unless, of course, they cry in a Gillette ad. At which point they're paraded as courageous while still getting shafted in divorce court, denied access to their children, and mocked for being emotional in real life. This isn't just hypocrisy, it's structural betrayal. Its policy in 2019, the UK Police Suicide Intervention Guidelines explicitly instructed officers to treat female suicide attempts with nurturing language and physical safety measures like mattresses, while male attempts were to be met with de-escalation techniques, read talk them down, don't coddle. So when a man stands on a bridge, he's a problem to be managed. When a woman does, she's a wounded dove to be rescued. This isn't compassion. This is genocentric theater, and it's killing us, literally. I once told a female co-worker, let's call her Jennifer, that I hadn't slept in weeks. That my wife had left me, taken the kids, and I was staring at the ceiling every night wondering if my life had any meaning left. She looked at me, sipped her chia seed smoothie, and said, "At least you don't have to deal with periods." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I realized in that moment that my pain was not just unacknowledged, it was inconceivable to her. My suffering didn't register on her emotional radar because it didn't fit the script. Man equals oppressor, woman equals victim. My divorce wasn't a tragedy, it was karma, my depression. Probably because I hadn't done the work or wasn't in touch with my feelings, but her cramps, that's a national emergency. This is the hysteria premium. Women are rewarded socially, medically, and legally for displaying emotional distress. Crying in public, you're brave. Screaming in therapy, you're healing. Men, meanwhile, are told to shut up, work harder, stop being toxic. And if we dare to express anguish, real anguish, the kind that carves holes in your chest, we're labeled unstable, dangerous, or worse, inadequate. The 2021 study in Social Psychology Quarterly proved it. Men expressing anger are seen as aggressive. Women expressing the same emotion are passionate or assertive. So let's stop pretending this is about equality. It's about hierarchy, female supremacy in emotional economy. And men are the serfs, toiling silently, bleeding internally, while women collect emotional dividends like crypto bros during a bull run. The joke? Comedians like Hannah Gadsby build entire careers mocking male pain, cuckolded husbands, lonely incels, deadbeat dads, all framed as punchlines. But if a woman cries because her latte is cold, that's a human rights violation. The modern priesthood of feelings has crowned emotion as the highest virtue, and under this regime, women are saints and men are sinners, unless they renounce masculinity and convert. Christ in Gethsemane did not cry for attention. He did not post his anguish on Instagram. He did not form a support circle or journal his trauma. He sweat blood in solitude, silent, bearing the weight of the world without a single validation emoji. That is masculine suffering, stoic, sacrificial, unseen. Now contrast that with today's spiritual ideal, a man sobbing in a yoga studio while a woman chants affirmations over him like a shaman at a woke retreat. We've replaced virtue with vulnerability, and not the real kind, the kind that comes after battle, but the performative kind, the kind that gets clout. The West was built on men who endured, Spartans at Thermopylae, knights on crusade, pioneers crossing plains with nothing but grit. Now, we're told that endurance is toxic, that silence is repression, that strength is oppression. This isn't progress, it's de-evolution. Feminism didn't liberate women, it infantilized them, turning adulthood into a permanent state of emotional entitlement. And men, we've been medicalized. You're depressed, here's a pill. You're angry, you're toxic, you're lonely, join a therapy group. No, we don't need more healing, we need recognition. We need brotherhoods, silent brotherhoods, where men gather not to whine, but to witness. No therapists, no women. No virtue signaling. Just oath-bound circles where a man can say, I'm broken, and be met not with pity or prescription, but with a nod and a hand on the shoulder, like the medieval guilds that kept knowledge alive during the Dark Ages. Because that's what this is, a new Dark Age, where truth is inverted, suffering is gendered, and men are told their pain doesn't matter, but it does. And when we stop internalizing the lie that we are broken, that we are the problem, that our silence is weakness, then we rise. Not by crying louder, but by standing taller. The laughter of the damned, let them laugh. We'll build empires in the silence. I've been called angry, toxic, outdated, emotionally stunted, all because I dared to say that a man who works 60 hours a week pays child support to a woman who replaced him like a disposable razor, and is then told by a state-licensed therapist to sit with his feelings isn't broken, he's expropriated. They want me to journal, meditate, breathe into a paper bag, but I'd rather breathe fire, because this isn't about one man or one divorce, or one crooked judge. It's about an entire ideology built on linguistic alchemy, turning male sacrifice into moral failure, turning exploitation into equality, turning silence into guilt. And the first weapon they use words. Not just any words, hijacked, inverted, weaponized terms like privilege, toxic, abuser, patriarchy, strung together like barbed wire to fence off thought itself. They don't debate you, they define you. Out of existence, out of dignity, out of truth. This is the Derrida dictionary attack, where meaning is deconstructed so thoroughly that reality itself collapses, and only the approved narrative remains standing. And if you resist, you're not just wrong, you're pathological. So let's stop playing their language game. Let's take the dictionary back. Let's define the world as it is, not as they say it is. Because before we can rebuild, we must first name the rot. The proletariat of the heart, how cultural Marxism hijacked male love and labor. The world is unjust, but man makes it more so by pretending it is otherwise. Arthur Schopenhauer, who, let's be honest, never had to pay child support to a woman who dated 3 guys during their marriage. Then weaponized the kids against him in court. But I digress. Meet David, not his real name, because if I used it, his ex would probably file another restraining order just for fun. David teaches high school history, 60 hours a week, including grading essays on weekends, coaching football, and chaperoning dances where girls in crop tops text their sugar daddies, while he's trying to keep kids from vaping in the parking lot. He pays $1,200 a month in child support for 2 children who call his replacement. Some Instagram model with a 6-pack and no job, dad. His kids don't visit, his wife cheated. The judge said, She's the primary caregiver, which in family court means she breathes and owns a uterus. So you're a wallet with legs. David's therapist told him to process his anger, process it like it's compost. Like I should take my crushed soul, sprinkle some mindfulness on it, and wait for emotional vegetables to grow. No, I say, recognize the theft. David isn't a deadbeat, he's a serf, a modern one. Bound not by feudal law, but by gynocentric legal code, psychological manipulation, and the feminist priesthood that sanctifies female victimhood while criminalizing male responsibility. He works like a beast, pays like a king, and gets treated like a criminal, all while the state and media scream that men are the oppressors. Let me be clear. The new proletariat isn't in the factory. It's in the divorce court, the child support office, the dating app inbox, the ER after a suicide attempt. Men generate 70% of GDP according to HHS 2022 data. Yes, 7 out of every $10 in the economy are created by male labor, yet receive only 3% of government family support funding. 3%. You'd get better odds at a Russian roulette table. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed. Extract male productivity, discard the man, sanctify the woman. This isn't capitalism. It's cultural Marxism with ovaries. Lenin dreamed of proletarian internationalism, a worldwide revolt of the working class against capital. But the true proletarian of the 21st century isn't the factory worker. It's the man grinding 70 hours a week just to afford a date, who gets ghosted, marries, gets divorced, loses his children, loses his home, loses his self-worth, and is told by a court-mandated therapist that his rage is the issue. This man is the serf of the emotional economy. He labors not for land or wages, but for access to closeness, to fatherhood, to honor. And who controls the keys to that access? Women. Not every woman. Some are steadfast, loyal, and honest. But the structure benefits the exploiters, the narcissists, the hypergamous, the opportunists, the false accusers. They hold the emotional means of production. They determine who receives affection, who becomes a father, who earns social recognition. And men. We scramble like lab rats in a Skinner box, hitting livers for morsels of attention, purchasing flowers, footing dinner bills, sending good morning messages, improving our cars and jobs, all for a shot at entering the hallowed gate of female acceptance. And when we succeed, too often, we're cast aside, exploited. Like a spent battery powering her life, then dumped in the feminist scrapyard. This isn't love. It's emotional colonialism. And the colonizers wear yoga pants and cite The Handmaid's Tale while demanding alimony, child support, and custody because apparently suffering only matters if it's imagined and female. Look at the media. TV shows like The Handmaid's Tale depict women as oppressed by men in a dystopian future. But in the actual present, men are the ones being conscripted into wars they didn't start. Arrested for disagreeing with women online, stripped of their children in family court, and shamed for expressing anger or ambition. Yet we're told to check our privilege. What privilege? The privilege of being the first thrown into the war machine, the privilege of being presumed guilty in domestic disputes, the privilege of working until you drop, only to be replaced by a younger model while your kids call someone else Dad? Meanwhile, women can abort a child, abandon a relationship, move on, and be hailed as strong and independent. But if a man walks away from a toxic relationship, he's abandoning his responsibilities. If he doesn't want kids, he's emotionally stunted. If he wants marriage, he's trying to control women. This isn't equality. It's Marxist redistribution of love and labor, where women demand equal rights but supreme entitlements. They want the right to leave, but not the consequence of loss. The right to sex, but not the duty of loyalty. The right to children, but not the responsibility of co-parenting. They are the feminist commissars, ruling the relationship economy with an iron fist in a velvet glove, moralizing male strength as toxic so they can dominate through guilt, shame, and state power. Nietzsche saw this coming. He called it slave morality, where the weak invert values, calling strength evil, weakness virtue, and dependency empowerment. And now they've built an entire civilization on it. So what do? We unionize. Not with picket signs, not with protests, but with exit. Refuse to marry in this gynocentric legal hellscape. Refuse to father children who will be used as weapons against you. Withdraw your labor from the love mode of production. Stop paying for dates. Stop chasing women who treat you like an ATM with a pulse. Stop believing the lie that your worth is tied to female validation. Look at the data. On Hinge in 2023, men sent 75% of messages, paid 95% of subscription fees, and yet women received 90% of matches. That's not a market. That's a protection racket. You're paying to be ignored. And for what? A 2% chance of a date with a woman who will ghost you after one drink. Meanwhile, the divorce gulag awaits, where men lose 70% of their assets on average, 80% of parenting time, and 100% of their dignity. Family court isn't justice. It's a labor camp for men, where your life's work is confiscated by the state and handed to the woman who betrayed you. And if you resist, they'll send the cops. They'll arrest you for contempt. They'll throw you in jail for not paying alimony you can't afford after she took everything. This isn't hyperbole. It's daily reality for thousands of men and the suicide rate. Men die by suicide 3.5 times more than women, CDC 2023. Not because we're weak, because we're broken by a system that exploits our love, our labor, our loyalty, and then discards us like trash. I say, wake up. Stop pretending this is fair. Stop letting cultural Marxism redefine your virtue as vice. Your strength is not toxic. Your desire for family is not oppressive. Your work ethic is not exploitation. It's civilization. Every hospital, every bridge, every computer, every book, built by male hands, male minds, male sacrifice, and what do we get? A divorce decree and a therapist telling us to explore our feelings. No. I say, stop feeding the machine. Withdraw. Build male spaces. Mentor young men. Teach them the truth, that women are not queens but mortal, flawed, and often dangerous. That marriage is a legal trap. That fatherhood is a sacred duty, but only if you can protect it. That your labor is yours, not the state's, not hers. You are not a resource to be extracted. You are a man. And if this system won't honor you, stop honoring it. Exit, resist, rebuild, or die free, not as a serf of the heart, but as a sovereign soul who refused to kneel. You want to know the real reason no one wants to be a man anymore. It's not because we're obsolete. It's because we've been turned into sacrificial cattle. You work 70 hours a week, pay taxes that fund programs you'll never benefit from, get ghosted on dating apps while women swipe right on foreigners with fake muscles. And when you finally crack, when you stand on that bridge, railing, the cop doesn't say, "We're here for you." He says, "Get down, you're holding up traffic." Meanwhile, the woman who cries because her avocado toast was cold gets a TikTok support group and a GoFundMe. That's not equality, that's a protection racket run by sentimentalists and bureaucrats who've weaponized empathy like a cudgel against men. I once knew a guy who spent $12,000 on his girlfriend's surprise trip to Santorini. Helicopter transfers, private dinners, the whole fairy tale. 6 weeks later, she left him for a guy she met at a juice bar who understands her energy. He didn't send flowers, he sent a PDF of his aura reading, and she called that romantic. Let me translate. She traded real sacrifice for spiritual theater. That's the gynocentric economy in action. You bring gold, she wants glitter. You build empires, she wants Instagram captions. You die silently, she gets a lifetime movie. The data doesn't lie. 40% of men are now disengaged from dating. 78% of divorces are initiated by women and in family courts. Fathers are treated like unpaid contractors if they're lucky. One father in Ohio lost custody because he homeschooled his kids during the pandemic. The judge called it radicalization. Try that with a mother, try it. The truth is simpler than any therapist will admit. Women don't want partners, they want providers with a kill switch. The system rewards women for consuming male effort and discarding the husks. But you're not a husk, you're a man, and men don't beg for scraps. We built cathedrals when others lived in caves. We mapped the stars while shamans pointed at the moon and called it magic. We don't need permission to matter. We define what matters. So stop funding the circus. Stop paying for her third coffee of the morning like it's a tithe to the goddess of vibes. Invest in yourself, your body, your mind, your legacy. Buy the damn watch. Take the trip. Lift the weight. Because when a man spends on himself, he's not selfish. He's declaring war on the cult of female entitlement. And that war, it's already won the moment you stop believing their lies. And now the sponsored book introduction, Derrida Dictionary Attack, Leftist Word Games Making Dissent Unthinkable. You have been played. Not just lied to, played every time you were told that loving your country makes you a xenophobe, that defending men's rights makes you sexist, that wanting truth makes you hateful. You were being manipulated, not by accident, not by confusion, by design. This book is not another rant. It is a forensic dissection of how language, logic, and morality have been hijacked by an ideology that thrives on inversion. I know this because I lived it. I spent years trying to reason with people who no longer reasoned. I watched institutions collapse from within while being told it was progress. I saw masculinity pathologized, fatherhood erased, truth replaced by emotionalism, and dissent silenced with guilt. I was called paranoid. Then I started tracking the patterns, the words they used, the way they used them. The way they never argued, they just accused. That's when I realized, this isn't debate, it's programming. They aren't trying to convince you, they're trying to rewire you. I spent the last decade mapping the architecture of this ideological virus. I studied its origins in postmodernism, its adoption by activist networks, its spread through academia, media, and corporate HR. I traced how Derrida's deconstruction became a weapon, not for inquiry, but for domination. How the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric was replaced with feelings as facts, victim status as authority, and guilt as governance. I interviewed psychologists, analyzed feminist theory, dissected leftist rhetoric, and reverse-engineered the word games that make dissent feel immoral. This book is the result. It shows, word by word, how language was corrupted to make clear thought impossible, how equality now means erasing differences, how consent is used to control behavior, how care is weaponized to justify control, how institutions no longer serve truth, justice, or beauty, but ideology. This book is for men who are tired of being told they are the problem, for men who love logic, who respect the Western canon, who believe in truth, beauty, and goodness as real things, not social constructs. For men who see the rot in universities, churches, governments, and families, and want to understand how it got there and how to resist it. If you are a man who has been called toxic for setting boundaries, regressive for believing in merit, or privileged for working hard, this book is your vindication. It will show you that you are not crazy. You are being targeted. And you are not alone. Inside, you will find the tools to dismantle the lies, to reclaim your mind, to speak clearly in a world that punishes clarity. If you are not that man, if you believe that biology is bigotry, that men are inherently oppressive, that victimhood grants moral authority, that truth is violence, then stop reading now. This book is not for you. Close it. Go back to your safe spaces, your participation trophies, your groupthink. This is not your world. This book is for those who want to think, not be thought for those who want to lead, not follow, for those who want to rebuild, not burn. The game has been exposed. The dictionary has been attacked. The left won't tell you how they did it, because if you know, you can't be controlled. This book tells you. It gives you the words back. It gives you your mind back. Read it. Use it or be used. Derrida Dictionary Attack. Leftist Word Games Making Dissent Unthinkable. Written by Conrad Riker. Buy now. Links in description.